it all depends. I think I put a few tweets out earlier, just reacting to it. I feel the first thing he has to do is, fix the problems that are clearly there. I think firstly bringing back that winning mentality. It's still weird to me. It was only it was only about a year ago now. Chelsea were just about to win the Premier League. It feels ridiculous how still recent that is. Compared to where it is now. I feel there's a lot of drama and overreaction that gets put out. I've seen a lot of people that say, all the big players are gonna leave, and I think some of them will leave. I think Hazard, he'll probably leave, because I do disagree with you about him coming back into form under Hinnick. I just don't think he has. I think the mentality from him is just not there anymore. I feel probably maybe Oscar will leave. I think certain players will. I think like Willian, he'll stay because I think Chelsea have him on a big contract. We know Ivanovic will stay. I think the first thing he has to do is re-sign John Terry. I think that needs to be his first signing, because I still think John Terry's got at least one more year in him, in my opinion. I feel, I'd like to see him keep Costa, I think, and from what I'm hearing, he wants to keep Costa. I know the last memory I have of Costa, and last memory a lot of people have, is what he did at Everton, which is a real shame. And because I feel since basically Boxing Day, he completely turned round his kind of mentality. He wasn't, at the first part of the season where he wasn't scoring goals and playing awful, just constantly squaring up to people, arguing with the ref, looking unfit, not affecting the game, which was frustrating people. But since basically I think Mourinho left, and Hiddink took charge, started to come back to where he was last season, scoring us goals. He has scored some important goals for us still this season. The game against Arsenal, I thought he played really well there. But then and even the game before Everton, he scored an amazing goal against PSG. In that game as well. But it's so frustrating. But I still think we should keep Costa, because I think he's still a quality player. But I think the one thing Conte as well has to do is he's got to give us another. You were talking about Arsenal and they're predictable to play against. I think that's the thing with Chelsea. He's got to implement a new system, or we've got to have different types of system. I wouldn't mind seeing two up front, but if he's going to come in and do 3-5-2, that's going to take a lot of change. I think he's going to have to really change around the playing and the players we've got in the squad, more so if he was just to keep the same system. But I'm excited for it. I did a reaction video on a channel and they kind of titled it, that I say he's going to bring us silverware. I think I said, I hope he brings us silverware. But, I hope he gets given the time. But at Chelsea, that's something that, is rarely given to managers, and I just hope he's able to get that winning mentality back, because it's going to be a tough season in the Premier League next year with all the managers coming in, with Klopp getting more time under his belt at Liverpool, getting signings in, other managers, Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho probably going to United. We don't know what's going to happen with Arsenal. I still think the money's on Arsene Wenger being there at the start of next season, unfortunately for you, but I feel it'll be very interesting, but hopefully it all works out well, and we're going to see in the coming months. One thing people have said, is that Chelsea fans, a bit like United fans at the World Cup, when if you remember back to the World Cup when they're about to get Van Gaal as manager, and he done that, and I think Holland beat Costa Rica on penalties, and he made like a tactical substitution, and all United fans were saying they're going to win the league, and you see how that turned out. I feel. With me, I'm not going to take too much into what he does with Italy. I hope he actually doesn't do that well, because I want him back at Chelsea as soon as possible, because our pre-season for some reason starts on July the 27th. Why it does, I don't know, which is just ridiculous in itself, and could basically have a whole nother podcast, of just how bad pre-seasons are thought out by Chelsea. But I'm not going to sit here and say if he does badly, I'm not going to sit here and go, we should start worrying now. And if he does amazingly and wins them the Euros, I'm not going to sit here and go, he's going to win us the Premier League, because I think that's naive. I think different circumstances, international football, club football, very different. You can't take too much into that, I feel. And Van Gaal's a prime example. When Holland beat Spain 5-1, has he ever replicated something like that at United? A performance where United go and dismantle one of their big rivals, it hasn't really happened for him. So I'm not going to take too much into that, but hopefully he can bring some success back to Chelsea next